What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
I'm Tom, the OG Fit Kid, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
And we have a couple of guests joining us here. We have Nick Storm and Freemz. Not really guests, though. They're just members of the Tavern.
Yeah, they're just barkeepers.
Everyone was supposed to do their own intro.
I was going to say they follow instructions well.
No one did.
I was waiting for Freemz to go. Honestly, I was like the goodness in me, in my own heart. But
yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
It's main event.
Look. Let's.
If you don't know who I am by now, then
yeah. Go. If you don't know twitch.tv/Freemz, what are you doing with your life? Let's be honest here.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah,
Freemz has some interesting content that might be coming this summer.
Yeah,
we'll keep it up to wraps, but
this summer,
join the Discord.
Whatever wins the Hawk promo, I should redo it.
We might get an OnlyFans from Freemz this summer, so keep.
I'm just saying it's perfect for broken VCR. That's all I'll say.
So usually we let the guests shill off on their stuff. We drop the Freemz twitch.tv/Freemz. Nick, give us a heads up on what you got going on, Fig Night, all that stuff.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm like, I don't know, dude. I've been jumping on every fucking Tavern show lately. It's great. You can catch me on Fig Night with Thomas Montalto, this good-looking man right here, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a fun time. We talk about figures. If you want more wrestling/wrestling figure content, you can find me on my @NICK STORM Review. And I'm wearing a shirt that any cinephile will love, as Chad likes to say. So
that's my guy. So I support that T-shirt. Tom.
Oh yeah.
You guys, this drops on Monday. We're recording, on Wednesday, but give us a little tease. Give the listeners a little tease for Mike, Fig Night, Double or Nothing, all that stuff.
Just let's just say, stay tuned to the Tavern on Saturday. Mike will be in Vegas, and you never know when we might go live. He might get a chance to walk around and share the reveals with us.
That's exciting.
That'll be fun, man.
Yes, it is.
So keep your eyes peeled. Double or Nothing weekend. Mike will be in Vegas, and we might have some pretty cool content coming out of that weekend. So
definitely make sure you're following the Tavern everywhere you can. Go to theturnbuckle.com and follow us everywhere if you haven't already.
It's theturnbuckletavern.com.
You can go to theturnbuckle.com as well, see what you find, I guess.
Yeah. There might be something over there too. I don't know, but if you want all the Tavern content, you'll find it at theturnbuckletavern.com. But it does seem like it's shaping up to be a pretty fun weekend, pretty exciting weekend.
Yeah, Mike will be there, so there'll be content coming out of that. That asshole
will be there.
Asshole piece of shit Hawk will be there. So we'll see what he has to say coming out of Double or Nothing. I'm sure we're going to hear all about it.
I don't know if that can sum him up any better.
Asshole piece of shit.
Yep.
Yeah. That prick. That scumbag. Trash.
Scumbag yacht rocker.
Yacht rocker.
All right. We got 3 topics.
Yeah.
Got some good ones.
What say we get right into it?
Let's do it.
Let's go. First topic of the evening. Who has the better legacy, Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio?
I'm going Eddie.
Wow.
Guerrero gets my vote. And again, it's kind of like we spoke about on the All Elite wrap-up. Maybe his untimely death helped add to his legacy.
You think?
But the dude beat Brock Lesnar to win his WWE championship. That's huge. He had a great run. He was loved.
I'm not going to say
stories.
I'm not going to say that his run was bad, but the only thing Eddie did that Ray didn't was die in his prime. I feel like if Rey Mysterio would have died in his prime, like it would be even bigger.
I got to go with
Like-
Freemz. I got Ray. I think people forget where Ray's been around so long. And we still see him on our weekly TV with Dominic. And in my opinion, what he's doing right now is kind of muddying up what he has done, because it's like that thing when you get used to something, you lose appreciation for it because you see it all the time. But if you just look at what Ray did, I mean, yeah, his WWE stuff, but even in WCW, man, he was a fucking groundbreaker. And I love Eddie Guerrero. And I think the best things of Eddie Guerrero we never got to see. And I think the fact that he died.
He was about to get another title run.
Yeah. I mean, I got to go Ray.
Yeah, not to mention too, like we didn't get a chance to see Eddie like have his like lesser career afterwards because he died in his prime. Like I feel like there's not I highly doubt he would have stayed on top like that whole time between then and now.
Right.
Rey Mysterio has been there long enough to where we've got to see a bit of a downturn because I mean he's 45 years old and he's been wrestling since he was 14. Like
wow. Like what would Eddie be doing right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Eddie never left, if Eddie was still here and he never passed away, like would that have taken some of that luster off of how we look at him? Because I think it would, man. Like I really do. Same thing with Owen Hart. Like if he was still around, would he be talked about? It's the same thing in anything, man. Look at Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was just in a handful of films.
Cobain. You can say it's about like a lot of rock stars.
You can, but you also have to look at to play devil. You have to look at the other side because we still have Jericho, who never really took a downturn. Like I think he's still doing top-notch shit right now.
Yeah.
That's true.
I could see Eddie Guerrero doing something similar along those lines.
And for me, like my pick, it was this is tough for me.
I love both guys.
Like it's so tough to go through because, I mean, Rey Mysterio. Ray was a groundbreaker. I mean, this guy, he is what popularized lucha wrestling in America.
100%.
That he is the face of that. So going through and trying to make my decision, I based it. I had to base it on one thing. So I'm going Eddie, and I'm basing it on just charisma. I'm basing it on on Eddie's charisma and just his work on the mic and just his main event feel. And Eddie had matches. He had banger matches in so many different styles. He had brawler. He had wrestling. He had grappling with Benoit. Like that match at Judgment Day 2004 with Bradshaw, that bloodbath match. Oh
God, that was so good.
Yeah.
Jesus, man. Just the Latino heat and the lie, cheat, steal,
the shit with China,
all of that stuff. Just because the way I did it, like it was so hard, and I just had to base it. If I was going to pick between the two, I had to pick on who had the better charisma, and I had to go with Eddie on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say it's like. For me, it's a very fine line because the stuff with Ray, it didn't get cut short, and he's still doing a lot of stuff that he did back in like the early 2000s, like in ring. He's still flying off of shit, and you can't really see his body age. But I think what it is I think it is the fact that we lost Eddie so early, and nostalgia plays a big part into wrestling fans, especially around my age, that we all go, Ruthless Aggression was amazing, you know what I mean? We all praise that highly, and one of those top guys from the Ruthless Aggression era was Eddie. Like, to be honest, when I think of the Ruthless Aggression era, I think of Eddie as like one of the guys you talk about with like I don't know, like a RVD or a Jeff Hardy or a Kane or something like that, you know what I mean? Like people who are just really staple in that. They were both doing great stuff in WCW as well. So it's like a fine line, but I'd probably have to say Eddie because maybe around the time when Ray retires, we'll probably, he'll get his flowers, as Acefield likes to say. But yeah, I don't know. Because I feel like it's kind of watered down. You can't really Eddie's matches are immortalized forever because we lost him so early, you know, and I think we kind of forget about what Rey's done just because he's doing the same act to this day. You know what I mean? So it's hard to kind of decipher the championship runs he's had in the past and all like that to stuff he's doing now, I think.
To me, one of the reasons I pick Rey, name anyone even close to that size get over the way that he has.
At the time he came up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time he came up, he was a big
in the
man.
land of giants.
Yeah, he did it in a time when nobody else was even close to his size. So
I mean,
that
he opened the door. I would say even more so, Rey Mysterio revolutionized wrestling in a way that Eddie didn't. And that was he opened the door for people like a Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson or
Well, he popped. He was the cruiserweight guy. He's what made cruiserweight popular.
Yeah, all those kind of that cruiserweight division back in WCW really like you see it a lot in current wrestling today, and I think Rey definitely had his touch in it as well for sure.
I think to me, Sneak, you brought up a great point, and it's almost one of those points that sways my opinion because the charisma of Eddie is so goddamn good.
Yeah.
But to me, you can't go match for match or title reigns because it's very, very similar. And honestly, if you go title for title, Rey has a lot more titles than Eddie.
Yeah.
So you can't really. I feel like their matches kind of cancel each other out. So it for me, it comes down to the charisma of Eddie versus the impact of Rey.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to forget, WCW closed their doors in 2001.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of turning on Nitro 96, 97, 98 and seeing Rey Mysterio put on those matches with Eddie, put on those matches with Dean Malenko, put on those matches with Benoit, Jericho. Dude, they were lighting it up. And this kid, he hadn't put on mass yet. He was his body type in those days.
Yeah.
Vastly different than the Rey Mysterio. He was
100%.
such a slick, mind-blowingly good. When I remember being 12, 13, 14 years old, watching this, mind blown. There was no one at that time. Lucha and that style is so kind of saturated in pro wrestling right now that I don't think people really understand how much of a trailblazer he was in the mid 90s, because when you saw a Rey match, there was nothing else like it. There was no other guy. So you're really stacking up that versus the charisma of Eddie. And I think for me, I lean Rey just because nostalgia, being a kid, that was when I was probably outside of right now in these last probably 5 years. That was when my wrestling fandom was at its fucking peak. That's when it, the Monday Night Wars and the Ruthless Aggression era. Although I was watching it, I don't think I was as rabid a fan. So maybe that's on me to not appreciate what Eddie was doing as much as what Rey was doing in the mid 90s. But
dude,
see, one of my favorite angles of all time was the Radicals and Eddie being a part of the Radicals coming over.
That was great.
That for me was at a time where I'm coming out of being a kid, coming into being a teenager, and you're seeing this invasion. It just
that was cool.
There was a really cool thing.
Speaks to you, man. It's good.
Underrated moment seeing them walk out on Monday Night Raw and sit in the front row.
It was great. Didn't he break his fucking arm in that
when his first match? He dislocated his elbow with the flash. Yeah.
This is gonna be. I might get some pushback on this. We'll see. Okay, imagine wrestling had Rey Mysterio never gone to ECW. And imagine wrestling had Eddie Guerrero never came along. I feel like Rey's impact is immediately felt tenfold.
Yeah.
I'm about to say that Eddie isn't great, and this is a hard because I love Eddie Guerrero. If you watched FREEMZ Fab last week, was talking about him beating Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
and that's a great point, Freemz, because like what makes this such a good debate too is the fact that those guys, their careers were kind of attached at the hip in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of
A lot of
a lot of times
similarities.
when you hear people talk about Ray, it's coupled with Eddie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You still hear people couple it with Eddie.
You think about it. They had the classic Dominic Mysterio, I'm your father
Yeah.
storyline during Ruthless Aggression. Then take it back to WCW. They had that fucking all-time classic at Halloween Havoc, which kind of was like so ahead of its time. And so they really are kind of like their careers shadow each other. Like the way they moved from WCW in the cruiserweight division into WWE, the storylines, the matches. It's a good little debate for
And
sure.
I think if Eddie stayed healthy and was around today with the charisma that he had, I don't know if we'd see it. I can see him being still a top guy.
At 55 years old, I don't know, man. You got to think
I think
Eddie's
he'd be
10 years
an
older than Rey
insane-
Mysterio.
Yeah, but look at
He'd be a
Jericho's
great
still-
manager,
I
you
think he
know?
could be in a Jericho spot.
My only
Yeah.
thing with that, where I'll push back on that, I think Eddie lived a little bit harder life than
The
Jericho.
Jericho, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
That's why I say if he stayed healthy, like if he was,
yeah.
That's a big F, pal.
I was gonna say he would be perfect in like a manager role.
you just took him completely out. You said if Eddie never existed, that's a bigger if.
Well, I'm saying if you take either one of them out of the picture, you take Ray never existed or Eddie never existed, the impact is felt more with Ray.
I'm just giving my own
No,
hypothetical.
I agree. If you took, I didn't pick up on exactly what you were saying, Freemz, but I totally think if you remove both of those guys from wrestling, who changes the landscape of pro wrestling today more, it would be Ray. If Ray was never in pro wrestling,
and like
it's a different landscape.
And I do applaud Eddie Guerrero's charisma. There's tons of guys with charisma. There's not a lot of 5'3" dudes winning world heavyweight championships.
Yeah, but Eddie had a
That's
different
true, yeah.
charisma. He had such a
Different,
connection to the crowd, whether he was a face or a
It
heel.
took him a while to get there, though, man. It took him
But
a
when
while.
he had it.
When he had it,
It's
he
not
had
like
it.
Eddie
Yeah,
had
he was
most
going with the
charisma.
singlet for a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like Eddie
all
had
that
the
going on.
most charisma of every wrestler ever. Like,
Not saying that at all.
well, I'm just I get that, but there's no guys like Ray winning championships. You know what I mean? Small dudes. Like Eddie was a small dude, kind of like in
Yeah, he was.
comparatively to like what was going on too, but not like Ray was. I'm just talking about impact. I'm not saying that like anyone's saying that Eddie has the most charisma ever. I'm just talking about like what sets them apart from everyone else.
Like, does his charisma impact the business as much as Ray?
Right.
As much as I love his charisma, and I think the Ruthless Aggression run of Eddie, fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
But that charisma doesn't trump what Ray brought to the business for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Anybody have any final thoughts before we move on?
I won that
I'll
debate.
Here's your trophy, sir.
Give me my flowers. As,
Yeah.
Well, we can put it down. So basically, Freemz hates Eddie Guerrero, loves Rey Mysterio. That's what we've got from this debate.
That's what I heard.
Hey, if I have to bite that bullet to get the win, then yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. So let it be known. So basically, what came out of this is Freemz absolutely is so glad Eddie Guerrero is dead. All right, sweet. Moving on to the next topic of the evening. So Nick, this is the topic that you brought, and it is: does AEW need to go after the casual wrestling fan?
Now, I just want to set this up, and then I'm sure this is where Nick got this from, but Eric Bischoff on his podcast commented, him and Conrad got into a big argument last week about AEW has reached its kind of peak as far as like they're not growing, and it's because they're not tapping into that casual fan base and they're only playing to their hardcore fans.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like this is a thing that I see a lot for myself, at least on Twitter, a ton. It's normally those Fed fans going after AEW saying they need the casual fans, because of course that's where WWE is. They've got all the casual fans. They're having like TikTok storylines in their fucking programming. But Eric Bischoff, he said that I don't know if AEW's reached their peak. It's easy to go back and look at the past year that AEW's had, but to not look that far forward into the future as well, and saying they've already peaked, I don't know, it kind of sits with me wrong. But AEW has that. If AEW has the very strict pro wrestling fan base, I think they're doing fucking amazing for that. They were doing 900K weekly, even going up to $1 million at one point. And if that's without any casual fans, then shit, man. What if it ain't broke, don't fix it yet, I guess, because the product is great. I love this product, but I don't know. It's just those Fed fans that think otherwise, that they need to cater to the casual fans. So I don't know. What do you guys think on this?
It makes no sense to say something's peaked when we haven't seen the future yet. Like, that's just a dumb comment, in my opinion. However,
go ahead. I got a huge rant coming though. I'm pissed.
You've seen them at CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, and a bunch of other guys, and the ratings spike, but they never stay where they were. Chad has talked about it a ton of times. We've said it. They still need that one story to captivate everyone, get people who don't watch to tune their eyes in and to stay. They need to get the people to stay. And
that was almost MJF and Punk, I feel like, but then that ended and so quickly, I feel like. But
they need something bigger than that even. They need that one oh my God story.
They need that NWO storyline.
Yes, they need something major. And we thought they had it with the Bischoff thing. I guess it wasn't a work, unless it's still happening.
I think...
Yeah, it sure doesn't seem like it. Because, Cody and Eric were always together. It was weird how all of a sudden Eric Bischoff showed up in Cody's house.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like something was set up there, but they just, and even Bully Ray saying that he knew the story to get the eyes, and they just didn't go with it. So I don't think they've peaked yet, but yeah, I think they need to do something to get more casual fans to stick around.
Yeah, it's easy because it's easy to say that they've peaked because the year that AEW had in 2021, fucking phenomenal. You think of All Out, best pay-per-view of that year, I think. It may be even best AEW pay-per-view till this date. That could be argued, but it's something that comes to mind when you think of the best pay-per-view that AEW's put on, or best product that AEW's put on. My mind instantly goes to All Out, because that was just such a fun time. And it's easy to think that the peak was there at CM Punk's first match in 7 years. Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson came out, Ruby Soho even. But yeah, Freemz, talk on this, because I know you have something to say.
Yeah, I just feel like Eric Bischoff and WWE fans should get their heads out of their own asses, because it's really fucking annoying. They were all popping pretty hard whenever NXT was catering to the hardcore wrestling fans, and they quit doing that, and we've seen how much that fucked up. Not to mention, AEW is doing exceptionally well for a company as new as what they are. For them to be putting up the numbers that they're doing is phenomenal. And also, why do we need to cater to the casual fan? What I hope AEW does is makes this style of wrestling and this type of performance the new norm of what is considered casual. And I hope that it seems to be succeeding, because they're fucking over it, right? It's just
go ahead, Sneed.
Well, and I think that's a good point, Freemz. I think what they're doing is they're taking their casual wrestling fan, and they don't stay casual too long with AEW.
They turn that some bitch sideways.
They do. They very quickly become rabid fans.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, I ran into somebody that I graduated with, who I hadn't seen probably since we graduated, and we were talking about. I had an AEW lanyard. Saw my lanyard. He said, "Man," he said, "I have not watched wrestling in years." He said, "When AEW came to the Civic Center, I went with my brother." He said, "I've been watching ever since." He said, "I watch it every week." He said, "That's my."
That's awesome.
He said, "Now I'm watching Ring of Honor. I'm watching." Like, he's a huge fan now, and all it took was one event. So I think the casual fan doesn't stay casual long with AEW.
Right.
But I guess the question is more of like, WWE's booking is designed to go after people that don't. It's the big flashy shit. The people that are just channel flipping. The people that they're going after people that watch the Super Bowl but aren't week to week NFL fans.
They don't care if they stay.
Exactly. They don't care if they stay. They're just trying to get them in for the big things, where AEW isn't trying to branch out and get all of those. They want the people that are going to be buying all the pay-per-views, buying all the t-shirts, the rabid base, which is around 1 million. You know, they hover around 1 million for AEW. Here's my big thing with this, like, should you go after casual fan, like the growth? They need to go after casual fans, or are they're never going to get to WWE's level? Who gives a shit? Why should they follow the formula of WWE? Why is that? Just because WWE is the market leader, they're the global, they're the people that if you know someone like, oh, I'm going to a pro wrestling show, and you're talking to someone that doesn't know pro wrestling, they're going to go, oh, is that WWE stuff? You know, they are the UFC of MMA. They are the Q-tips. You know, they are the Kleenex of pro wrestling. I get that, but like, just because they did it their way doesn't mean that the mark of success in pro wrestling is to follow the blueprint laid out by them.
It's not the only way.
The beauty of AEW, and I hope they don't go after those fucking casual fans, like, because at the end of the day, I'm a fan. As long as they're successful enough to have a weekly show and stay around, I don't give a fuck how, if they're this global leader in sports entertainment. I don't care. I like the fact that they are booking for hardcore wrestling fans. I don't want watered down storytelling just so they can get on. We're shown in 180 countries. Who gives a shit? I want, give me a smaller fan base hovering around 1 million viewers on their weekly TV with good storytelling over dog shit storytelling and better ratings. I don't give a fuck about ratings. I don't care about any of that shit. I want good pro wrestling. And you can't look at me in the face and say that WWE is putting out quality across the board entertainment. I mean, yeah, they do have some good stuff here and there, but dude, come on, man. This is an alternative. I don't want them to follow the WWE model. I want the alternative. I want the stuff that, like you said, Sneed, you ran into someone, they hadn't watched wrestling in a while. This brought them back. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
They are there for those fans that got sick of WWE. I'm one of them. I stopped watching wrestling. I came back because of AEW.
Me too. Yeah. I'll just speak on, like, there's been even my girlfriend who never watched wrestling before. I got her heavily into AEW, and she was obsessed with Mox and Kenny when that first started. And I showed her all CM Punk, got her up to date on that, and now she's like a hardcore with me in it. Even one of my friends from high school who was they said, quote, I don't think I'll ever get into wrestling. I showed her the Danhausen Hook stuff. She loves it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I feel like I was watching a documentary on how Coke changed their recipe in '85 and had new Coke, if you guys remember that.
I do remember that.
And people were protesting in the streets about it. I'm like, people will put as much energy into anything just to fucking hate on it, and it doesn't make any sense. And I feel like that's the WWE fans at heart, because they see an alternative, they see competition, and they go, oh, they need to cater to the casual fans, pal. You know what I mean? It's very easy to say that. But I think the storytelling in AEW is probably the best in all of wrestling, including sports entertainment, if you will, WWE. I think it's the best product out there. And that's just not a bias. Like, that's coming from someone who watched WWE the whole life, and then AEW comes along. I'm like, this is just so much of a better product. Like, Raw, Dynamite isn't fucking 3 hours, thank God. And there's actual stuff I want to see, and not stuff that I'm looking at and going, oh, okay, let's get through this, another 10 minutes of this. You know what I mean?
New Coke was terrible, by the way.
Yeah, Tom's old enough to remember that.
From what I'm hearing from you, were at one of those protests, Tom.
But the thing is, like, the new Coke, it was such a big deal when they brought back the original formula. It was probably a plan all along.
So
That's what I heard, yeah.
here we're all sitting here like just blowing smoke up the ass of Tony Khan at AEW, but just to like, I do think there are things that AEW are missing on that that would bring in more fans. And I'm not talking like go after those casuals. I'm talking about locking in more fans, some of those WWE hardcores that aren't, they're loyalists to WWE. I think there are ways to grab more pro wrestling fans that AEW just isn't.
Like the fact that Rampage is changing at like that time every week, you know what I mean? Like that's hard for even if you're a wrestling fan to come.
But
AEW's fault.
Yeah, that's outside of their control. I'm talking about rookie booking bullshit in AEW. There is things where I feel like they could tell better stories week to week as far as like some of their mid-card, low-card stories. I feel like sometimes it's just, and I love their matches. I love match quality. I love that it's more rooted in pro wrestling. But at the same time, I feel like Tony is missing an opportunity to really give us week-to-week storytelling. A lot of times, some Dynamites, even though I'm highly entertained, some Dynamites are full of matches for the sake of matches, no story. Like, and they usually find ways to slightly connect a little bit of story, but I'm talking about deep dive story, week to week, cliffhangers, shit that's the thing that I feel like wrestling just in general, not AEW, but wrestling in general across the board, WWE, everybody. During the Monday Night Wars, the thing that happened on WCW and WWE that would get you in there that people aren't doing enough of today is the cliffhanger aspect of live TV. When shows would go off the air in the 90s, it was one of those feelings like, fuck, man, I gotta see what happens next week. Now it's like the shows go off the air and you're like, okay, I wonder what's going to happen. Like you're entertained, but you're not like chomping at the bit of like a Sopranos season finale.
You're kind of satisfied, right?
You're
like at the end of an episode, you're satisfied.
Yeah.
They're not.
It's almost too neatly packaged.
Yeah, they're not setting a hook for you to come back. You need to like have those stories where something big happens at the end, and not just like a surprise debut. I'm talking about a storytelling device at the end of an episode that gets you like, fuck, I have to see who is that or what's going to happen there, what happened.
Yeah,
that's even in the 80s, it became like a shtick of Tony Schiavone. Oh, we're going off the air. We'll see you next week. And pandemonium's happen. It wasn't neatly wrapped up and then the show ends. Like shit is going down as they're going off air and you have to tune in to see how it all played out. Like they need more of that stuff.
It always made me want to go to a live show so I could see what happened after.
Right. They don't have enough of that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you today, it's oh, sorry.
I mean, what I said before, like, sure, they need to find a way to like the storytelling. I love it. I'm not going anywhere. Like Chad said, I'm here as long as it's here. Like I hope they have enough numbers just to keep it there for us. But I would like to see the numbers go up. It would be nice. But it's as long as it's here, that's what matters the most and foremost to me. As long as we can enjoy it. But again, we're talking about a rating system that's so outdated. We really have no clue how many people are watching it.
And like, Freemz said it the best. Freemz said it the best. Like, dude, this company's 3 years old.
Yeah.
And we've already seen Tony Khan improve his booking, like not making the same mistakes he's made before. It's no secret that the best storytelling in AEW is the 4 weeks leading up to a pay-per-view. They need to find a way to tell stories after a pay-per-view to keep people hooked more. And I think that's where the biggest problem lays right now.
Yeah, there's I have my list of problems with AEW because I've been pretty vocal. I'm not really much of like I like AEW, but I'm not one of those people that's like they do nothing wrong.
Yeah, same.
I do feel like they mess up sometimes with their match placements on a card, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the matches they just do in general, like you said, just don't make any sense. Like it's just a match for the sake of having a match. That can get old, but as far as like going for casuals though, like that, I don't think that'll even change that aspect so much, but it would help keep people who are watching for the first time to come back again for like, oh well shit, I guess I gotta watch next one, see what happens.
Right.
It's like when wrestling used to be considered the male soap opera. You need those stories to hook you, to bring you back.
Yeah, I literally just wrote in my notes. It's a TV show at the end of the day. It's a soap opera. It's a drama. It's all these things, and you want to get like you said, Chet, you want to get that hook into next week, and they send hook every week, it seems now, but that's not the hook I'm talking about. But yeah, it's like a soap opera. You need those cliffhangers. That's an excellent point, guys.
Yeah, I think their major problem, and then we can move on. The thing that bothers me the most with AEW is sometimes I feel like they will give us a cool matchup for a match. You know, they'll put two guys together that is an awesome match I'm stoked on, but they'll sacrifice 15 to 20 minutes of TV time for that, and stories that we want to see more of will kind of be on the back burner. It's like the fact that House of Black isn't entrenched in a week-to-week phenomenal story that has us just fucking tuning in, and then you get like matches chewing up all this TV time. It's like that is mistakes that I think are holding them back. That they will put a match over a story where I think you don't have to have one or the other. You can find ways to have those great matches, but also give us stories with the people that we want to see stories from.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have any final thoughts before we move on?
I'll just say this, and then we move on and stuff. But I was thinking the casual fan probably knows of MJF in some way. He's been blowing up in memes recently, like the past year or two. The whole mid thing. He started that like 8 months ago. It blew up on TikTok. Everyone started saying it from that. And I think that's how you honestly get like the casual fan. You know, you just have to do something eye-catching. And I think Darby and Jeff did that. I see that blowing up everywhere on social media. The huge ladder spot onto some fucking chairs. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I called that, by the way. We were arguing about it on the wrap-up show. Everyone's like, no one's even going to be talking about it tomorrow. They shouldn't do it. And like,
dude, I'm still thinking about it. Late at night, I'm staying up. I'm counting sheep, and I'm just thinking about that ladder spot. Man, it's nuts.
That's an iconic spot, I think.
Who said this sounds like a hot that sounds like a hot take. Nobody's gonna be talking about that tomorrow.
Oh my God.
All right, you guys ready to move on?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
The dude who said it was really cool, by the way. I want to say that was old fat bike guy, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah,
BMX.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude was really cool.
Stony McGee.
Yeah, he's cool.
Stony McGee.
Yeah.
All right, final topic of the evening. Sasha Banks and Naomi situation. Is it a work or is it a shoot?
We're getting worked, bro. That's what I think, man.
When you see
Jay, but-
WWE comment on something so fast, it just makes you think work because they don't comment on shit like that. And you know what happened when the whole thing went down? The ratings went up on Raw for the night.
So both of you guys are saying work?
I mean, in the beginning, I thought it was a work. Now I'm starting to think it was more of a shoot, like as things go on. But we haven't heard anything. If it was a shoot, wouldn't Sasha have tweeted by now? Like it's just so confusing. But
Like,
I'm leaning more work.
I think it's just a work purely because the statement that WWE put out had a lot of information about it in it, saying, and I was thinking like, okay, well, did Sasha and Naomi say they're not getting respect? How does WWE writing this know that they think they're not getting enough respect? Like, it just felt really weird reading that, and it felt like they were trying to further a story, but kind of vaguely. So it's like, oh, is this a shoot or a work? But like, it could be both ways. But I'm leaning more towards work, just simply because of that. And yeah, I don't know, because I think they would have gotten some sort of suspension, if anything, now, because it's two talent on their team, and it's not like WWE needs them because they've just been releasing top talent over the past 2 freaking years. So
I think it's a shoot. I think it's legit. And I feel like we're in a point in time in history where labor issues are significant. Like, there's a magnifying glass on them. I mean, look at what's going on with Amazon, things like that. WWE cannot react negatively to this because it's still part of a workers' rights issue.
And they have that Andrew Yang who's got them in their fucking crosshairs for shit like that, who's vocalized that he's coming after Vince and his workers' rights.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like it's totally a shoot. And I feel like it's the best time to do it.
I think 100% it's a shoot. And here, number one, WWE doesn't have it in them to do something like this. They don't give a fuck about kayfabe and blurring the lines and all this bullshit. Everybody's giving them too much fucking credit that they're going to pull off a work like this. They don't have that creativeness in them, dude. Vince is fucking old. He doesn't give a shit about that. He gives a shit about his fucking investors and the board members and all that bullshit. He's not going to sacrifice some like old school kayfabe story. He doesn't care. That statement to me that the WWE released came across as Vince McMahon being red fucking hot mad that someone walked out on them mid-show and he got with whoever their social media guy was and put out all the fucking dirty details to throw Sasha Banks under the fucking bus with Disney and the Mandalorian and all her outside connections that make her think she's bigger than the company, which she's not. She's not bigger than WWE. And that's him trying to fucking sully her name and make her look like shit in the eyes of Disney. And at the end of the day, I'm torn because I see both sides of it. I think it's awesome that Sasha and Naomi didn't like what they were being handed. And they were like, fuck you. Peace out. I love that they stood up for that. I think wrestling needs more wrestlers like that. But on the reverse end of it, you do that, you're going to get your hand slapped. This isn't, I don't think Vince and them cave to their demands. Oh, okay, we're sorry. No, they're going to play hardball. Like you're not bigger. If Vince caves and brings them back, I think it sets a precedent that WWE doesn't want to set. The only thing I could see happening slightly, even though I don't think Vince has it in him to do a story, a work like this, I could see them if they come to some agreement or something. I could see him flipping this from a shoot into a work in some half-assed attempt to get a story out of it, but it's the fucking women's tag division. No one gives a shit about that, especially Vince McMahon. They don't fucking care about those titles.
Well, now John Laurinaitis is the champion,
Yeah, he's a fucking
holding those two belts. I will say one more thing. If it is a shoot, good on them. Fuck yeah.
Well,
like 100%.
Their issue was, I guess, Bianca. Naomi was going to win that match, and then Sasha was going to fight Ronda for the title at the pay-per-view, and they were both going to lose. And they're like, you're making the tag team champions look weak by doing that, and that's why they refused to go with the way it was booked and what was going to happen.
Let me say one thing really quick, because I said WWE doesn't have it in them to do this. I don't think anybody has it in them to do stories like this today. And that's what bums me out about pro wrestling. Nobody has it in them to work everyone. Everyone thought Cody was a work. Oh, it's a work.
It is a work.
When is the last time anyone did a work on that level? Fans always go to that like it's a work. They don't do it. They don't have the fucking balls to actually trick everyone. Nobody does. Tony Khan, Vince, nobody is doing works on that fucking level. As much as hardcores like us hope and pray and long for a work like that, we always go to that, but there's no precedent like in recent years of any company doing shit like that. So I'm to the point now where I'm like, I don't think anybody has the fucking balls to pull shit off like that anymore.
Nope. And that's why I'm going with it being a shoot, because I put all my eggs in the basket of Cody being a work, because I was really, really hoping that there was a company that was going to be able to do that.
Yep.
And that it was going to be able to set a new type of precedent where you can do stories like that. But if Cody wasn't, there's not a shot in hell that this is a work. There's a shoot.
It's a good point, Sneed.
Yeah, I think that because the dirt sheets are more accessible and prominent than I think that.
That's the work the fucking dirt sheets.
Work everybody.
Why? Like, It would be so easy to do it. Tony or Vince, like you get your little, don't tell anyone, work your fucking company, work your employees, bring in the necessary people, work the fucking dirt sheets, feed them bullshit. It would be so easy to do, but no one has the goddamn balls to do it.
I mean, the closest thing we've seen to this is the pipe bomb by CM Punk. Like if you think about it.
And that was that was a shoot that became a work, kind of. Like, wasn't really, but they gave him the mic as a gift, say whatever you want. Like,
Right.
Yep. I mean, there were wrestlers in the back who thought that Vince had no clue that he was going to do that.
Well, Vince didn't have any idea what he was going to say.
No. But he knew that it was going to be fun, and it did work. So, unfortunately, like you said, nobody's doing those type of stories. If they did, I mean, imagine if AEW did do something like that.
Yeah.
It would be incredible, man.
Yep.
It would be incredible. Like we all long for that. If you want kayfabe, that's the new kayfabe. That's how you do it.
You have to work everybody.
You have to work everybody. You can't let a little group in or that's why when everyone's like, well, the dirt sheets are saying this and so saying this, it's like, for kayfabe to work, you have to work everybody. The whole Cody thing, the reason like people were saying it was a work because we thought they were tricking even the staff, tricking even the roster of wrestlers.
Yeah.
Like, but no one has it in them. Oh, they'll get mad if we work them. The boys in the back will be mad. Fuck the boys in the back. Like, tell a good story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Work everybody. That is. I just don't think people care enough to put the effort in to pull off shit like that.
If the roster wouldn't pop for a story like that, like
Then get them the fuck out of the company.
yeah, you don't need to be there.
If you don't want to bring more eyes to your company by doing something like that, you don't belong there.
That is the type of stuff, though, Tom, that you were talking when we used to talk about, you know, AEW needs that big, massive NWO type of level story. That is the type of thing. If you pull off this massive trick work, whatever you want to call it, that is the type of story that if you did it right and it took over the company, like it was a story that became not just a segment on your show, like it changed the entire complexion of your company. You pull a story off like that, people are tuning in. You're getting viewers.
Yeah.
It's not about a wrestler coming in and they're going to bring all these new eyes. That the days of a wrestler bringing in 1 million new viewers is fucking over. The only way to bring in people week to week is to pull off some crazy fucking story, and no one's willing to do it.
Not to mention, like, one big work, like, that has legs on it, too. Like, even after it all comes out, now you don't know what to believe anymore, like, once the work happens. Like,
great point, Freemz. Great, because you pull one big work off and people buy in, then it makes your week-to-week television that much more intriguing because you're like, fuck, they did that. What else could they do?
What are they going to do next?
Yeah.
I mean, it could be something as simple as CM Punk and Tony Khan having a conversation where CM Punk says, why don't we start just between him and Khan, the only two people who know, why don't we start playing it where I'm starting to get disgruntled here and I'm starting to look like I'm getting fed up, do some things to see, and nobody knows.
Right.
That way. And that'd be a story, and all of a sudden we get mad CM Punk back. But it's a work and nobody knows.
Exactly. That's the type of shit, man.
Yep.
But why can't we get that though?
I know.
No nuts, man. No nuts.
Nut up.
Nut the fuck up.
We're just sitting here dying for it and we're not being fed it.
Yeah.
I want to add one more thing to it. I was going to say it earlier, but we kind of got away from it a little bit. I also think this is also showing that, like, Vince knows, WWE knows, Sasha knows, Naomi knows that WWE isn't the only place to play ball and make money anymore. And I'm not just talking about AEW. I'm talking about AEW, Impact, the Indies.
Dude, some of these guys on the Indies are probably making as much as anybody in WWE or AEW on their own.
Dude, there's wrestlers all over that are opting out of contracts to go on the Indies because they can control the money they make.
Cardona's making more than he ever did in WWE. Like, and that's just one. Look at there's so many people right now.
Like, you can't tell me that someone like Sasha Banks couldn't wrestle and get like a YouTube streaming deal or like all these other side options they have available to them now.
Yeah, and Sasha has a lot of leverage because I think wrestling to her is she's on her way out. You know, she doesn't give it. She's not going to sit here and eat shit because she can go do something else. And I think Vince knows that a little bit, that she does have a little bit of that stroke. And that's where that statement came from. It was the rantings of someone mad.
Dude, that was an excellent point when you said that. Like, that could have been Vince just trying to chop her at the knees now. Like, listen.
That's what it seemed like to me, man. Like, it seemed like them trying to fuck her over. Like,
all right. Anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap up the show?
Cody's still at work.
yeah. All right.
Let's hit the round robin.
Before I have one quick round robin, just a yes or no answer. MJF, since we're in this whole shoot work thing, MJF and his contract situation with WWE, AEW, work or shoot?
Work.
I think you know what? It's a shoot and work. I think he knows what the fuck he's doing. He's gonna go where the money is, so that's just gonna make the bidding wars even, higher and higher and higher, I think. So
is that how they say yes or no in Australia?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, it's a work shoot. I mean, I think there's levels of both. I think he's playing it, but I think him saying little things like, I'm going to WWE. Nah, I don't think his mind's made up. I think this is all him leveraging for money.
Yeah. If they threw WWE through the bag at him, I mean, he'd probably go.
Tony's pockets are deeper. Tony's keeping him. It's a work.
Yeah, as to say, if Tony, it would have to be WWE offering him significantly more money.
I think the work of it all is all the reports of he's disgruntled in the back and he's unhappy with that's all bullshit.
Nobody likes him.
Nobody likes him in the back. That's horseshit. I think
on roads to the top,
dude.
He was having fun and smiling. They caught him off character back there.
Dude, Cap is all over AEW in the back. Pat Buck, all of his buddies are there.
He has Cap tattooed on his.
I think that's the work of it. I think the shoot of it is him. He will go to the person who gives him the most money. And I think all of this is leading to propping up Tony and being like, give me money and I'll stay. But if Vince, like Freemz said, if Vince throws the fucking bag at him and Tony doesn't match it, then he'll go to WWE.
Well, one quick question. What fun is it if Tony extends him now? I want this to play out over the next year.
I do too.
Yeah.
We're sitting here talking about shoot, work. This is a storyline. Like my whole pitch with this is a storyline that you could do that with. If you had the balls to play kayfabe and blur the lines, you have him. He did the dog collar ROH tribute with CM Punk. Punk wins the title at Double or Nothing. MJF beats Punk for that title leading up to his contract year. Leading up to him at 2024, he has the AEW World title and he takes a page out of Punk's WWE playbook and says, I'm taking this belt to WWE. It writes itself.
Who's better at keeping kayfabe?
MJF is the best. He's the only guy who tries to do it.
Yep. Can you imagine him coming out? I would love to see him come out one of these nights and say, listen, me going to WWE, guys, it's not a work. It's a shoot. Just imagine coming him out and saying that on Dynamite.
It'd be fucking great.
Yeah.
Take a page right out of Punk in the lead up to Punk's match and be like, I'm coming for that title. I'm winning it and I'm taking it to Stamford. Yeah. People would be
like they can't name
mind.
drop as well. Not like they can't name drop WWE because like that's WWE's thing not to name drop other promotions and companies.
Yeah.
So they can totally do that on TV and like pretty much get away with it scot free because you're not saying anything really. Right. You just, it's just words at that point, So.
Love it, man. That was good.
Guys. All right. Well, that is going to wrap us up for this week. Make sure you guys are following theturnbuckletavern.com for all your tavern needs. Guys, get your shit in before we go.
Yeah, no worries. I'm the Australian icon, Nick Storm. You can find me at Nick Storm Review on pretty much everything: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, for wrestling and wrestling figure content.
You guys do not forget, follow the Tavern everywhere this weekend. Mike will be in Vegas. You won't want to miss it.
All right. Go ahead.
Twitch.tv/Freemz.
Twitch.tv/Freemz. Come over for some creamy debauchery.
All right. That is going to wrap us up. Court is dismissed. Freemz is glad Eddie Guerrero's dead. Bye.